Their plane.
It might. Oh,
No, their design of the plane. Pretty sure that's the Wright brothers first.
I should know this. I don't. But
Yeah.
Are you gonna photo it? Are you gonna do Google photo things? Other search engines are available.
They're not.
They are.
Yes, sorry, they are available.
Bing.
Why would you use them?
Duck. Go.
No, I was just going to Google Wright brothers, and then that picture will pop up. I bet you.
I'll do the intro while you're doing that, so we don't have dead air.
Sure. Yeah. Didn't realise the button was clicked last time I looked over. That last time I looked over, that wasn't.
But yeah, surprise! Welcome back, dear readers.
Hi, how you doing?
We're back. We actually did this recording last week, the week before. When was the King's Speech?
No, last week, or beginning of last week.
Last week, but we had a slight technical problem, technical challenge. So
Is it embarrassing to say, or
no, I think we have to say it.
I think it's Apple's fault. Yeah, I'm calling out Apple. Why would the default position be the microphone is off for screen recording?
It makes no sense. It's nonsense.
If anything, if you're recording, why wouldn't you want sound? So, that's on Apple, that one.
So for context, we were remotely doing or attempting our first remote episode, and we used the recording function, or we thought we used the recording function on the iPhone.
Oh, we did use the recording function.
But in Apple's infinite wisdom, can't blame Steve Jobs on that. He did.
Default. Yeah, but he might have imprinted that.
Maybe. Someone at Apple decided that when you do the recording, screen recording,
Default.
it defaults to mute. Now, we should have checked that, obviously.
I still think it's something you shouldn't need to check. It's like me recording a video, just getting the video out and start recording, and then you don't think, oh, is it recording sound? What's the recording? Why wouldn't you record sound? Why would you just want a silent video as a default? Makes no sense.
Anyway, there's 55 minutes of pure quality content. That
Lip readers will love it.
Yeah, maybe we could do that for...
Why not?
Maybe it's a bonus. We've still got a I'm still fiddling with this. I'm not sure if the Wright brothers playing is in the middle. I'm not sure
It's in the middle.
that. Oh, we've still got two. Now we've got 2 unseen episodes. Bonus content for anybody that really wants to
Oh yes.
access it. So, a brief reminder, a recap of the purpose of this. What we were talking about last week was the King's Speech. So,
Yeah.
there's been quite a lot going on. How long's Labour been in charge now?
Week 3, aren't we?
3 weeks.
And nothing jumped out at the King's Speech, just like the manifestos. There wasn't like, ooh.
Which was semi-deliberate, I think, as a tactic by Labour. They didn't want to scare anyone. They were obviously positioning themselves as the Change Party, or just anybody but the Tories.
Even though it's scary enough they're in power, but yep.
And I've got some not controversial views, but I've got some views on the first 3 weeks. I think we've seen some interesting things coming out, and as Gary said, there wasn't anything stand out from the King's Speech. Most political parties really start to only have an impact if they get second term. So normally the first term of most governments is fairly bland or vanilla.
They slag off the previous government, look what you've left us with and stuff like that. The same old, nothing's really changed.
Yeah, which
in that respect.
And we actually saw some of that this week with Yvette Cooper highlighting the cost of the Rwanda scheme.
The ones that they did everything in their power to thwart, and I'll highlight that.
I'll challenge that and say I think the Tories did a pretty good job of thwarting it themselves, in the fact that it was a gimmicky policy.
They wanted the flights to go ahead, and the human rights lawyers, because that's their revenue stream, as well as Labour voters, did everything in their power to thwart it and put all the little stops in, and you need this appeal, that appeal, and then they go, oh, £700 million. Yeah, because you stopped it. After about 15 flights, it would have made an impact. But you didn't even allow the flights to take off because you kept going on about human rights and everything else.
Oh,
By the way, Visit Rwanda's been on. Yeah, because Visit Rwanda's been on Arsenal's
human rights.
Been on Arsenal's shirt for how long now? Years. So a major.
Have you been to Rwanda yet?
No. Oh, so we're doing this if you haven't tried it. I've also never injected heroin into my eyeball.
Why have you gone to there? What's the link?
No,
I don't
because people will say, well, if you haven't done it, blah, blah.
Me neither.
It's just a silly thing to say because, so if your friend said you copied your friend. I only did it because Dave did it. Oh, if Dave jumped off a cliff.
Speaking about jumping, we're gonna keep on topic a little bit, and I thought we're trying
on the same topic because it's still politics.
We're trying to figure out a bit of a format and structure for this, and I think we've settled on this. But please do comment and give us feedback, as some of you already have. Thank you for that. By the way, this is the So Whatever This Is podcast, video, YouTube channel. I'm Michael. He's Gary, and the premise of this is we have very different political views, ideologies.
Yep.
We come from different positions politically.
Think differently, approach things differently. Yeah, great mates.
Bezies. Hey, bezies. Do people say that? But we are.
People do say that.
And the beauty of this, or what we think the beauty of this is that we can have these difficult conversations and different political ideologies, but we can still be civil and have a proper conversation about it. And that's what's missing, I think, in the wider world. And stay tuned for our next episode, because speaking about the wider world, there's quite a lot going on in the US of A. So we'll be covering that in the next episode, which we'll be publishing shortly after this.
Does that stir up emotions? Yep.
Ding, ding, ding. But back to the Rwanda scheme. So we're going to try and stick on this a little bit, because this feels like the hot topic at the moment. It was Yvette Cooper did her presentation or spoke in Parliament yesterday, I think it was. Well, current affairs.
Come up with a £700 million.
But there's a couple of things. One, surely we can't be describing human rights as a bad thing. Surely that's a good thing. Surely that's something we can actually agree on.
Not when, because you're taking it. It's like if you're just looking at the words, of course they're fine. And to me, I draw parallels with Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives Matter, yes, but BLM, the organisation, no. So the words are fine. Human rights, yes. How they're doing it, how they're going about it is wrong, because all they're doing, in my eyes, and in anyone's...
Which he doesn't stick heroin needles in.
No, but that was my point. Oh, if you jumped off a cliff, would you follow him? It's always gone to the extremes. It's not as if you can go, look at the first 10 flights and gauge it from that. Nothing happened because you stopped it before.
Because it was against international law.
Why is it against international law? There's other countries that send people to other places to be processed. So it's not against international law.
I invite people to fact check, because we're coming at this from a slightly naive point of view. I think we're reasonably up to date, and we're interested and fascinated in politics because we know the importance it has within everybody's lives. It affects everybody's lives. But obviously I'm not a lawyer, I'm not trained in international law, I don't know the ins and outs of all of the policies, but international law typically is a general consensus globally by governments to maintain basically a way of working with each other, and that involves trade, that involves criminal behaviour and the policing of it. And international law really, I think, came into effect following the World Wars, and has been established.
World War II, but
there's international courts. The Hague has been set up, and Europe and UK played a fundamental role in establishing a lot of the international laws. They were taken from British laws, and I think probably even going further back to Magna Carta. Big shout out to Magna.
It's one of my arguments against the whole European ECHR, European Court of Human Rights.
How is that an argument against it? Sure, that's an argument for it.
Yes, but the people that are using it criminals use it for their benefit. We've the British values and people we fought for, or if someone's bullying someone, I'd be saying go back Magna Carta times. For hundreds of years, we've stepped in, especially in Europe, when things have been going wrong. We've upheld that, and now suddenly the ECHR came about, and people just use it for their benefit, and we just get the negative sides of it because we already have those. It's like saying, so what people are saying is, if there wasn't the European Court of Human Rights, then what would Great Britain become then? Because people say like we have to have it because if we didn't, we'd suddenly turn into what? That's the bit I don't get. We've still got our values and our human rights and everything else that goes along with that. We wouldn't just stop because
the principle,
we're not signed up to
as
that.
I understand it, the principle, or what the, and I can't speak for them because I don't know what their ruling was, but what I understand and what I felt, and I think a lot of people maybe on the more left side of politics felt, was it's inhumane and unjustifiable. First of all, let's forget about the term legal or illegal immigrants. Let's try and park that for the minute. But let's think about sending people to another country that might not be safe. There's all sorts of reasons why migrants flee countries or wherever they're coming from, for multiple different reasons. Quite often because the place that they're fleeing, and I know you're going to jump in, but let me finish on this. The place that they're fleeing has been war-torn, is suffering famine. There's global climate changes that are significantly affecting their lives, and they can't survive. It's natural for any human being to flee and try and seek shelter somewhere, anywhere. And, because I know your point on this, they're going to try and go to the best place for them, right?
Yep.
Maybe, but who can blame them for that? But anyway, also quite often these are people who are victimized or attacked for maybe their sexual orientation, or maybe there are certain situations, and this is what the Tories weren't able to answer when they were in government, is what happens if you've got a migrant fleeing from a neighbouring country, from neighbouring to Rwanda. There's lots of conflict in Africa, there's lots of conflict in that area. If they're fleeing from one of the nations that Rwanda is actually engaged in warfare with, and they go there, can they assure they're going to be safe? That's surely the responsibility of any government. Just full stop, for any citizen, regardless of where they come from. And surely that's the ethos, or that's the idea of a government. That's surely what they should be. That
could be worked out in Rwanda, where they're being processed. So all they're doing is being sent there to be processed. So all of these questions can be answered there.
But clearly, they couldn't satisfy the European Courts of Human Rights. About their safety when they went to there. That's why those planes didn't take off, because they weren't able to.
It's like anything, you can just put in appeals and ground everything, and then moan about £700 million cost afterwards.
But surely that.
What exactly is happening in Rwanda that they actually think people being killed in the streets? What's actually going on? Oh, they had stuff in the early 90s, or 1994 I think was the big one. But who hasn't? Serbia and Bosnia and everyone. So you're saying that Serbia and Bosnia, you can't go there because they had problems in the 90s? Is that what you're saying? Rwanda had problems in the 90s?
Serbia is a very nice country, by the way. Shout out to
but
Belgrade.
they had problems in the 90s, just like Rwanda. Bombs dropped,
Whenever
people
you
killed.
say something about the 90s, I think of that Calvin Harris song.
80s, the 80s. I've got
wrong,
love for you.
wrong decade.
Born in... Yeah, but...
Right, just on this point, and I think we've done quite well in staying on topic.
Yeah.
So well done.
We're always going to do little sort of electric bolts off. That is electric bolts.
I think there's a couple of things to consider with this. One, regardless of where they were sending them and any other involvement, it's absurd, that figure, that 700 million figure. Whether you send people
thanks
or
to the
not.
people that blocked it, it is absurd. So well done, the left. Thanks for getting that figure to that height.
But nobody went.
Congratulations.
But surely,
yes, because they kept stopping it.
Yes, but
then they
got
the cheek to go on. Oh, look at this £700 million bill. Yeah, because you didn't let any of the flights take off because you kept going appeal this, appeal that.
Yes,
this and the ECHR, no court should override courts in your own country. That's my biggest thing with the ECHR.
Okay, but is it not the government's responsibility, the current government or whoever sets the policy,
To sort out problems in your country, yeah,
and,
it is their
and, but, and
responsibility.
to have actually figured out or thought out whether it was actually possible, whether we're going to face opposition from another external party?
You're always going to face opposition
but then
every single time.
Exactly. So a good government will preemptively plan, understand the opposition they're going to face, and be able to handle and deal with it.
I'm of the
And if the
view
government if the government were even half decent or capable, they would have at least sent some people to it, not 3 volunteers that they paid. It's absurd. It's absurd that they put this crazy.
And here we are.
This crazy policy, which
Didn't even let any flight take off, so you've got nothing to compare it with. Because I will still stick to 10, 15 flights. The whole point was the message that you want to come over here. Why they didn't stop the benefits to begin with is beyond me, because that's an easy one to do. And no court can say anything about that.
Okay,
Stop
agreed,
giving them everything,
agreed.
yeah.
Okay,
but they didn't do
would
that for some reason, which the left love. Because, yeah, it's a prepaid mobile phone. It's a cheeky hotel room, etc., etc. Stop all that initially. That would have been easy. Actually easy. And you don't have to worry about any claims or people trying to thwart anything. But they didn't do that. So why not have 10 flights and then gauge it from that? The whole point was you come here, but you're being processed there. So people will stop coming here because they know they're going to be processed there. And all this, let's target the people smugglers.
There's no
let's
proof
target
of
the
that,
people smugglers.
The
people smugglers are irrelevant. They're only there because people want to come here because of the benefits that are handed out.
I have an alternative viewpoint on the people smugglers. They're only there because there isn't a safe passage, a safe and legal passage
Except
for
there is.
migrants. There isn't. There specifically isn't.
They could apply through the legal routes when they're in the safe EU country that they're currently sitting in, instead of handing over a couple of grand to some boat guy.
This is where we.
So there is
this
a
is where we
safe
need.
route.
This is
There
where
is
we
a
need to
safe
get
route.
a little bit better in terms of having some fact check. I encourage any fact check organisation. Say that quickly 10 times. Fact check organisation to come and give us some more information.
So but what you're saying is,
because I don't think there is. I actually think it's a deliberate policy, probably from the French government as well as the British government, that there isn't a proper facility that allows the checking of papers and proper legal migration. Because migration is actually legal. We spend a lot of time, everybody does, particularly those on the right, talks a lot about illegal migration. Migration from anywhere isn't illegal. It's often just a method or means by which they migrate that is deemed illegal. I mean, who owns the planet, for goodness sake?
Yeah, but humans by nature are territorial.
We're also migratory. Yeah, I get that,
Yes,
but
you
we're
do.
also migratory.
But
if you look at
my core point is there's too many people. So people going about, and UK were instrumental in setting up the ECHR. Yeah, back in the bloody 50s, when there wasn't that many people about, and there wasn't that many people flooding into a country. So don't compare the 50s to now, when there's billions more people on the planet. There's too many people to start with.
Well,
I don't understand why
well,
people talk about the 50s and how instrumental we were in things back then. That's because it was back then. There was just a few thousand people, that was it. Not millions upon millions.
I want to try and summarise this a little bit though, because I think in somewhere in amongst this debate there is a bit of agreement, a consensus, and this is where we do get to sometimes. Because I heard you admit earlier that the government could or should have done something differently, opposed to just the Rwanda scheme where they should have cut the benefits or done other things. There were other measures. Okay, so this is good, right? And I think this is important, that we don't just go back and forth and take positions, because we don't always do that. I do agree, and I think you've admitted it, that the government, the Tory government at the time, could have done something, I think, which would have been a little bit more progressive. Again, I'm not sure entirely how comfortable I feel about it.
Wait, you just get
I'm not sure about the tent thing, but I understand switching off the benefits, or certainly not putting up all of the migrants in the. And I don't know if this is 100% true, but you read a lot about it, so it probably isn't true at all. But they've been put up in hotels, and there's lots of accommodation there's a lot of money spent on accommodation, which I think they could have been a little bit more strategic about doing, and maybe positioning that, as opposed to wasting money on this gimmick. And it's 100% a gimmick. It's a propaganda. It's propaganda.
No control sample because the left didn't want it.
Well,
it's
irrelevant.
Let it have 10 or 15 flights and then gauge the response.
It is a government's
you
responsibility.
Can't do that now, so it's easy to say gimmick.
It is a government's responsibility to see that their policies are acted out, and they weren't capable of doing that, which is why they're no longer in power.
That's part of it. But it moan about a bill which you created just makes me laugh.
How did they create it?
Because
they weren't in government.
That
they weren't
sort
in
of bill.
government.
No, but they were the ones who vote against stuff because they want to appeal to the left.
Okay.
You vote against all these things and the human rights lawyers.
So does that mean in future conversations that we have about Labour and the policies that they're trying to enact, if the Tories vote against them, I can, and I'm not just defending Labour here because that's not really my position, but
If they were...
if I can then say, oh, it's the Tories' fault because they voted against it.
Yeah, but this is the joy of it. They wouldn't vote against, the Tories wouldn't vote against something of flying people out somewhere else to be processed. The whole point is the knowing that you're going to come here, but you're going to be processed there, so therefore it way lessens the amount of people that come here.
The Tories had a
They
majority.
wouldn't vote
The Tories
against
had
that.
a majority in the last government.
Yes, but
So
you
they
could put in
didn't all. They didn't. It wasn't totally.
But look
it
at people
wasn't
like
complete-
Gina Miller, when they can just...
Where is she?
When they can just put in something to a court, and then that just holds everything. One person can just say something.
Yeah, but that's a democracy, isn't it? That's the world. That's surely a positive thing, that we live in a world where you've got people who are challenging.
You'd think, wouldn't you? Because you challenge and then moan about a bill afterwards, after what you've caused the delays.
But
It's like a blockage. You caused that blockage. Oh, look at this £700 million blockage. Yeah, because you didn't want it to be cleared.
Let me try and take that analogy. I think that fine, but the blockage was in a toilet that the Tory party had lavished out, was pure gold and could have just been a plastic toilet in a porta cabin, but the Tories decided to build a gold-plated, full suite service toilet and then complained because they couldn't make it flush.
No, because they did have all that, which is what I said they should have stopped. And then they've come up with this other thing, and it wasn't even given a chance. So no one could see the possibilities of it, because it didn't even take off. Pun intended. Didn't even take off. If you just had 10, 15 flights, what, you're still on your plastic toilet?
It was good. Come on, it's a good analogy. It's a good analogy.
That's all right. It's mildly humorous.
Right. Yeah, I've gone now. I think that's it. I think that's the point well covered, to be fair.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? What is there anything else that we're going to cover?
No, because that is the big one, isn't it, at the moment?
Really?
It's the latest one, it's the biggest one, and there'll be something else coming up. Let's just wait for Lammy to actually speak, and that in itself is going to be just glorious.
I will sense check. I'm not. I wonder how long the Labour honeymoon period is lasting, because I haven't been. There was another significant vote. I think I read about it this morning about. I think, and you'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong on this. It looks like the Labour Party have voted against the 2-child benefit cap.
Yeah. Some of the harder lot in the harder left. There was a John McDowell. It's not even.
Yeah.
It's not even.
Yeah, him.
Of this place, he's just proper Stalin, Leningrad.
Yeah,
So, yeah, basically. And what's her name? Bailey.
He's a Corbynite.
Massively.
Bailey?
They would. Yeah,
Sean
what's her
Bailey?
name? No, the lady. Something Bailey. She's got a hyphenated surname. But they are like the extreme left. Like they're not even left. They're just something else. Yes, they were the advocates, and their backers were the ones that were trying to get it through. Just because. Just paying out more for. Yeah. Two-child cap is fine. I've got 3 kids. I wasn't crying because I wasn't getting something else for my 3rd child. My responsibility, or me and my wife's responsibility, not the government to pay me
if this happened under a Tory government, and in fact it's irrelevant because unlike you, I'm not tribal in the politics and the parties that I support. I think about the decisions that they make, and I'm a little bit disappointed in the Labour Party scrapping it because
You're saying that I just have loads of kids and we're just going to pay.
that's not what I'm saying. I think it's a government's responsibility to think a little bit more effectively about how it's going to impact. I think the government's essentially there to try and think about how it can help and support the poorest individuals in society. And by scrapping the child benefit cap, you're going to be putting a lot of people who are already struggling. Let's not forget, we're still living in the midst of the after effects of a pandemic or whatever excuse they've given us for squeezing the cost of living. It's really tough out there for people, and by scrapping that, you're going to be causing a lot of people's lives to be really difficult.
Why are these people having more kids?
Well, I don't.
You're on about education. People say, in African countries or the south parts of India and stuff like that, where there's not as much education going on, so they have 8, 9, 10 kids and stuff. Right, throw the education. You can't say that about this country, because even the dumbest person in this country still has some degree of education or knowledge. Yeah, so if you're having more than 2 kids and you can't afford it, it's your responsibility, the family's responsibility, not the government, to babysit you and just help you out through everything.
Look, I agree that
you can't afford to have a kid. Why are you having it?
I agree with that sentiment. You have a responsibility. If you're going to have children, you have a responsibility to make sure you can afford to provide for them and ensure they live a good,
you're
healthy,
raising your
happy
kid,
life.
not the government.
However, that doesn't justify a decision or a policy decision that's going to significantly change something. A decision that's already been made. The government should have some form of safety net, and I actually think I can understand why the choice has been made. I'm going to play a bit of a political game here and say that because of the terrible decisions that have been made over years, the Tories didn't make that decision. They could have made that decision. They could have changed the policy on it. They didn't, because they were too busy squabbling, fighting within themselves, or appointing a new leader, or having a party.
That's what happens when you backstab Boris.
But I don't agree with the policy. I would have liked to have seen something else, or it phased out in a different way and more support given to it. So I want to maintain my position as somebody that doesn't just support the party, but question some of the decisions that the government are making, and that's one that I don't particularly agree with.
Cool beans.
Okay, good. Right, we're going to finish off with a little pop quiz. No, we're not. I haven't actually prepared anything for that. I know.
God.
We're really disappointed. Oh, we could do one now, though. I feel like you're disappointed.
Okay, but if it's actually is as being said, like literally just stop someone in the street and ask them.
Okay. I do have a little pop quiz. Okay, I've got one, and it came to me while we were talking about.
This could be anything.
It came to me while we were talking about the European Court, the European Court of Human Rights, and your phrase or your statement that we've helped Europe out a lot, and that's such a British thing, which by the way, I'm very proud to be.
How Belgium came about, buffer zones, stopping other European.
But okay, so there was a quiz done during the Euros. We haven't actually touched on the Euros at all. Anyway, by the way, congratulations Spain, well deserved. Unlucky England.
All right, yeah.
Jesus, I wanted England to win, obviously, but there was a question there. There was a survey done because it was in Germany, obviously the Euros. For none of us, for people who aren't
please,
fans
what
out
is
there.
it?
Sorry, I'm building. I know I'm padding here. Right, there was a survey done where they asked all of the nations. I think it was predominantly Germany, who was responsible for helping you out during the World War II, and who basically saved you? Was it the US, was it the Russians, or was it the Brits? What do you think the Germans answered? What do you think their answer was?
Who helped them out?
Yeah, so
why would they even view it that way?
Who defeated?
Defeated.
Who defeated the Germans? Sorry, who defeated the Germans? and who...
Well, maybe the Russians defeated the Germans.
Okay, but there's generally a bit of a... I should have done this more succinctly. Please excuse me. This was not prepared. Just done it on the fly. But yeah, the question was, and I'll find the statement and I'll pop it in the comments so that I satisfy some of the people who are thinking...
I was screaming at
But there was a question about who basically won the World War.
Right, okay. There's a lot of factors for it.
There are a lot of factors. And you think, all right, this is...
No, not think, it's just... I'm just answering it in terms of Russia, got to Berlin
first.
There was
a percentage of votes. Russia,
They got to
US,
Berlin first, that's
UK.
all. They got to Berlin first. But there was obviously everything else going on with Britain and the US.
I think because the perception normally for most Europeans is that the Brits always think we won the World War, we won World War II, we defeated Hitler.
Well, we did hold off with the Blitz.
And I'm not,
our country wasn't conquered, and we're the only one there on the map. If you look at a map of Europe, that the Nazis didn't control. So we were holding our own and waiting for the Yanks to chip in. I'm sure it took so long.
I think the answer to the question that I phrased and asked really badly, or the Germans thought they were defeated by the US.
Okay.
I'll find the link. I'll put it in the show notes. And
I always see the whole World War as like a Sim City type thing, where America were just almost on pause and everything was building up. Because no one could get to them. They couldn't be bombed. U-boats couldn't get there. They were fine and just building up everything. And you got all this power, and we're saying just pop over and help out a little bit with all your almost infinite resources. Do you mind just coming over to help out? Is that all right? Like we used to do before that, when America's what Britain was 150 years ago, where someone said, it helps out. Yeah, we'll come and help you out. We don't like those guys.
So could we borrow some
just come over.
brown
it
sugar?
was not only needed, it was just a logical thing to do. Because if you did then take over, and what was the stepping stone then? Because then you could build up your power here.
This actually tees us up quite nicely for the next episode. Speaking of the US, we're going to be...
Oh, mate. Smooth.
Thanks. See you next week, tomorrow, whenever you tune back in. Like, follow, subscribe, share.
We're always here.